everyone. Welcome back to Study Hall. You know how this works, right? Inquisitive minds gather around because this is But Why Though? And today we're diving deep into, well, you've probably seen the title of this episode, but we're looking into the Got Milk campaign.
The one from the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, really taking a deep dive here. We've got a whole bunch of sources, like articles, analyses, the whole shebang, and we're going to unpack how this whole thing came to be.
It really was everywhere back then. I mean, think about it for a second. Got milk. Simple, right? But it stuck with us. Why? What made it so effective? That's what we're going to figure out today.
Yeah, like, how did this seemingly simple campaign become such a cultural phenomenon?
Exactly. So to kick things off, let's rewind back to the early 90s. What was going on with the dairy industry that led to this whole got milk thing?
So picture this, right? The U.S. dairy industry in the early 90s. Not exactly thriving. Milk consumption had been on a downward spiral for like 2 decades. We're talking a nearly 20% drop in per capita milk consumption.
20%. Wow, that's a big drop. That's like everyone deciding to have one less glass a week or something.
It's a lot, yeah.
Yeah.
And the industry was scrambling. They had been relying on those traditional, health-focused ads. Milk does a body good, that kind of thing.
Right, the classic milk ads. Everyone remembers those.
But the thing is, people already knew milk was healthy. It just wasn't exciting. It was kind of seen as bland, especially with all these new drinks popping up everywhere.
True. Like suddenly you had all these fancy sodas, juices with like a million different flavors, bottled water claiming to be like super hydrating. Milk was getting lost in the crowd.
Exactly. So enter the California Milk Processor Board, the CMPB. These guys are basically the marketing masterminds behind California's milk producers. They knew they needed a major change.
A shakeup of the milk marketing game.
Right. So they bring in Jeff Manning to head things up. And Manning, he's like, all right, we need to think outside the carton here. He goes and teams up with this ad agency in San Francisco, Goodbye Silverstein and Partners.
And this is where the magic happens, right? These guys came up with the whole got milk concept.
Exactly. And their big insight was realizing that people don't usually just drink milk by itself. It's usually with something else. Cookies, a sandwich, cake.
Oh, yeah, like when you have a mouthful of peanut butter and you absolutely need something to wash it down.
Exactly. And that's when they hit upon the idea of deprivation marketing.
Mm-hmm.
They realized that thinking about those foods without milk,
yeah,
it created this feeling of, like, lack, like something was missing.
So instead of focusing on how great milk is, they focused on how terrible it is not to have it.
Yeah, like really emphasizing that negative experience. And get this, they actually did focus groups where they had people imagine eating these foods without milk.
And I bet people are freaking out, like, where's my milk?
Pretty much. People reported feeling everything from mild annoyance to straight-up anxiety, this sense of deprivation, like they were being robbed of something.
Wow, so that's how the Got Milk tagline was born, huh?
Yep, Jeff Goodby himself came up with it. Lowercase, no punctuation, just super casual, like someone asking a friend.
Hey, it's so brilliant because it's so simple but so effective. It just gets stuck in your head.
And you know what? Some people at the agency weren't even that keen on it at first. They thought it was too basic, grammatically incorrect. Shows you that sometimes the simplest ideas are the most powerful.
Absolutely. So they had the tagline, and they had this brilliant strategy of deprivation marketing. Now it was time to bring it to life with the actual ads. And those TV commercials were something else, so different from anything else out there at the time.
Right. Forget those cheesy Happy Family milk ads. These were funny, edgy, sometimes even bizarre little sketches, all centered around people desperately needing milk.
Like that first one, the Aaron Burr ad, I remember that one so clearly. It was like a mini movie. Can you remind everyone what happened in that one?
Okay, so picture this. A guy, total history buff, he's listening to this radio quiz show about Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr. He's got a huge peanut butter sandwich in his hand, right?
Oh no, I can already see where this is going.
He gets through. He's so excited. He knows the answer. It's the $10,000 question. But his mouth is totally glued shut from the peanut butter, and there's no milk in sight.
So he can't answer the question?
Nope. He tries to mumble it out, but it's just a muffled mess. He loses. The camera zooms in on his face. Total defeat, and then boom. Got milk.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It was directed by Michael Bay, by the way.
Really?
You're
Michael Bay, the action movie guy. I never knew that.
Yep, early days. But yeah, that ad, it was just so relatable, that feeling of total frustration when you're dying for a drink of milk. And it was so unexpected, so funny. It made a huge impact.
It totally did. And then they followed it up with a whole bunch of other great commercials, like the Heaven Hell one, where this guy dies and goes to heaven, and there's all this amazing food, but no milk.
Right. Endless cookies, cakes, everything you can want, but not a drop of milk to be found. Pure torture.
It was brilliant. And then there was the babysitter one, the one with dad having to choose between giving the last bit of milk to the baby or the cat.
Oh, yeah, that one was classic. These ads, they weren't just funny. They were like little emotional roller coasters.
Yeah.
They made you really feel that lack of milk, Like it was this tiny tragedy.
And while these TV ads were blowing everyone's minds, there was another campaign running alongside it that became just as iconic, maybe even more so. The Milk Mustache campaign. You couldn't open a magazine or walk down the street without seeing some celebrity sporting a milk mustache.
Yeah, that was Milk Pep, the National Milk Processor Education Program. They took the Got Milk slogan national and plastered it everywhere, but with this added twist of celebrities. Everyone from movie stars to athletes, even politicians, they all got in on the action.
It was like a who's who of famous people, all with milk mustaches. What was the thinking behind using celebrities like that?
It was a brilliant move, really. It made milk cool, Like if these cool, aspirational people were drinking milk, maybe it wasn't so uncool after all. And a lot of them actually did it for free. They wanted to be part of the campaign. It was like this badge of honor.
And they managed to sneak in some health facts, too, right? I remember seeing little captions about calcium and protein under some of the photos.
Yeah, they were smart about it. It wasn't preachy. It was just like these little interesting facts associated with your favorite celebrities.
Yeah.
So you'd be like, oh, well, I didn't know milk had that much calcium. And hey, if celebrity name drinks it, maybe I should too.
Very clever. And the whole branding of the campaign was so strong. That "Got Milk" slogan was everywhere. What do you think made it so effective, so memorable?
I think it's the simplicity. It's just a question, an open-ended question. It makes you think. It makes you fill in the blank. And the visuals they used in the print ads, those pictures of cookies with a bite missing or a half-eaten piece of cake, it just reinforces that idea of something being incomplete without milk.
Right. It triggers that craving, that sense of, oh, I need milk with that.
And the lack of capitalization, the missing punctuation, it makes it feel so informal, so relatable, like a friend just asking you a question.
Yeah, it's not like some corporate slogan trying to sell you something. It feels more personal. And they didn't just stick to TV and print ads either, did they? I remember seeing "Got Milk" merchandise everywhere.
Oh, yeah, they went all out. T-shirts, mugs, even toys. And they did a lot of ambient marketing, too, those floor stickers in supermarkets. The ones you see near the cookies and cereal?
Yeah.
Classic Got Milk.
They were everywhere. It was like they were trying to subtly brainwash us into buying more milk.
Maybe a little bit. But they were also self-aware about it. Remember that everywhere ad they did where this guy keeps seeing Got Milk signs everywhere he goes, but he still forgets to buy it?
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. It was hilarious. So we've talked about the creative side of the campaign, the ads, the tagline, the branding. But what about the psychology behind it all? How did they manage to persuade so many people to drink more milk?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. They use a whole bunch of psychological tactics, like we talked about. There's the scarcity marketing, making you feel like milk is this rare and precious thing that you need to have.
Like, you're missing out if you don't have it in your fridge right this second.
Exactly. And then there's FOMO, the fear of missing out, which perfectly illustrated in that Aaron Burr ad.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be that guy who loses out on something amazing just because you don't have milk.
And also, I think they tapped into this idea of loss aversion, making you feel like you're losing out on the full enjoyment of a treat if you don't have milk with it.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's the whole celebrity endorsement thing. Seeing all these famous people with milk mustaches, it makes you think, well, if they drink milk, maybe I should too.
Like, it's the cool thing to do.
Right. And let's not forget the nostalgia factor. Milk and cookies, milk and cake. These are things we often associate with childhood, with happy memories. So the campaign subtly taps into those positive emotions as well.
And they did it all with humor, which makes the message stick even more. Those funny, relatable scenarios, they just stay with you.
Exactly. They made milk emotionally charged. They made it about more than just quenching your thirst. It was about avoiding that feeling of deprivation, that sense of missing out on something good.
So they were really playing on our emotions. But did it actually change people's perceptions of milk? Did it make a real difference?
It did, at least for a while. Surveys show that more people started viewing milk as an adult beverage after the campaign. They thought it was cool, contemporary, even delicious.
That's a pretty big shift. Milk went from being the boring drink to being, like, trendy.
And the Got Milk slogan, it became a cultural phenomenon. People were using it everywhere, parodying it, referencing it in movies and TV
It was
shows.
like this shared cultural experience. Everyone knew what got milk meant.
Right. And it probably reinforced that habit of always having milk in the fridge. Like you wouldn't want to be caught without it, right?
Exactly. But even with all that success, it didn't completely solve the dairy industry's problems, did it?
No, it didn't. It boosted sales in the short term, but it couldn't reverse the long-term trend of declining milk consumption. There were just too many other factors at play.
Like what?
Well, you had the rise of all these alternative beverages, people becoming more health conscious and choosing different types of drinks, lactose intolerance becoming more widely known.
Right. Milk was facing some stiff competition.
Exactly. And despite all the marketing, some people still just found it kind of boring compared to all the other options out there.
So it was a marketing triumph, but it couldn't overcome those bigger societal and market forces.
Exactly. But it did have some lasting effects. It created this really strong brand identity for milk, and it opened doors for co-branding opportunities and merchandising.
So it wasn't just about selling more milk in the moment. It was about building a brand, creating a legacy.
Right. And it sparked a lot of conversation about the power of advertising and how it can influence our choices.
So what are the big takeaways here? What can we learn from the Got Milk campaign, both as consumers and as, well, people interested in marketing and advertising?
I think the biggest takeaway is the power of understanding consumer psychology. They figured out that people crave what they don't have, and they built a whole campaign around that.
The deprivation strategy.
Exactly. And then there's the power of simplicity. A simple tagline, a simple question, paired with really creative and engaging visuals. It's a reminder that sometimes the most basic ideas can be the most effective.
And that humor and relatability can really make a message stick. Those Got Milk ads, they were funny, they were memorable, they made an impact.
Absolutely. It's a masterclass in marketing, even if it didn't solve all the dairy industry's problems in the long run.
It definitely made us think about milk differently, even if just for a little while.
And that's something, isn't it? To take a product as ordinary as milk and make it cool, make it a cultural phenomenon.
It's pretty amazing. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave you with a question to ponder. We've seen how the Got Milk campaign used humor and psychology to influence our choices. But how do you think advertising has evolved since then? How are brands trying to get our attention and persuade us today? It's something to think about as we navigate this ever-evolving world of marketing and consumerism. And with that, I'll say thanks for joining us on But Why, though, here at Study Hall. Keep those inquisitive minds engaged, and we'll see you next time.
Until then, keep exploring.